That's George Soros, and that's his son, Alex Soros, and that's Huma Abedin, former bagman for the Clintons and former wife of Anthony Weiner. That's who she's now dating. What kind of terrifying, wealthy, evil spawn child are these two going to create? All right. Meanwhile, yesterday was Valentine's Day, and we learned about a brand new budding romance. Check this out. Oh, look at this couple. Look at those lovebirds having a Valentine's Day dinner in Paris, France. The guy there, the little dweeby-looking Nevishy dude, that is Alex Soros, the son of George Soros. And the woman, as you can see from the tag there on Instagram, is none other than Huma Abedin. And you might be thinking, Huma Abedin, who is Huma Abedin? Well, you might remember her on the shoulder of a different individual, almost locked like Siamese twins. You couldn't not see her always connected at the hip with this individual, Hillary Clinton. That's right. Huma Abedin is the longtime personal assistant, let's say, of Hillary Clinton. They go all the way back to the State Department. Her fingerprints were all over a whole bunch of Hillary Clinton scandals, including, yes, the email server scandal. Huma Abedin was, in fact, married, and the ceremony was officiated by Bill Clinton. Imagine having Bill Clinton officiate at your wedding. What kind of message does that send? Huma Abedin, for a long time, was in a very, very cozy professional relationship with Hillary Clinton. And that marriage I just alluded to, who was she married to? Anthony Weiner. Boy, this story just gets creepier and creepier. Now, if you're just joining the world of politics and news and you're not familiar with the name Anthony Weiner, let me just give you a quick rundown of who he is. He's just recently been released from a federal penitentiary for, well, sex crimes, specifically sex crimes involving cross-state communications with minors, let's say. He's a sexual deviant and was prosecuted for such. And the very first time by the way, he was almost the mayor of New York. He was a congressman from New York. He had to resign in disgrace because of a scandal, exactly like I just described. Then he rehabilitated himself and almost won the mayor's race in New York, except right before the election, another scandal involving another underage girl and cross-state internet sex was revealed. So he had to drop out of that race, and then he was prosecuted for those crimes. Oh, and by the way, the very laptop that he used for all of those tawdry sexual escapades contained tens of thousands of Hillary Clinton's classified emails from the State Department that his wife, Huma Abedin, was in charge of. That's who these people are. And since we're mentioning and educating everybody about who Anthony Weiner is, can we just take a quick walk down memory lane to talk about Huma Abedin's first real love? Because when he was outed as a sexual deviant, the story sort of captivated America for about a week. There was a lot of mystery involved around it. You see, he was caught sending tawdry, illicit sexual pictures of his body parts utilizing Twitter, social media. See, he accidentally sent it out on his regular Twitter feed instead of through a direct message. And when he was caught, he claimed he was hacked. Here's how Dana Bash reported the story at the time.
Well, we know that the congressman is saying that he was hacked and that we should take his word for it. And conservative bloggers are trying to build a case suggesting not so fast.
It came from Congressman Anthony Weiner's Twitter account over the weekend, a photo of an anonymous man's bulging underwear. The lewd picture, immediately deleted from Weiner's account, was sent to this 21-year-old Seattle college student, but also available to the public to view on Twitter. Outside his New York home Monday, Weiner, an outspoken liberal Democrat, insisted to CNN it was the work of a hacker.
I was hacked. It happens to people. You move on.
It's not clear who sent it.
Yeah, it's not clear who sent it. He claims he was hacked. And this is where the story, for me, gets personal. Because the person he was blaming for hacking him was Andrew Breitbart. Andrew Breitbart, my friend, my boss at the time. He passed away in 2012. In fact, on March 1st, we're about to it's not celebrate, but acknowledge the 12-year anniversary of his death. This all happened in 2010. And there's the smile. I just want to show him. Look at that smile on his face. Look at, I was hacked. That's fine. This is a sitting congressman accusing Andrew Breitbart, a journalist, of a federal crime. He hacked me. Andrew Breitbart hacked me. That's right. He blamed Andrew Breitbart at the time. I was working for Andrew. I was one of his editors at the time. And here's how the story played out in this exact same CNN story. Watch.
But questions surrounding the lewd photo quickly became the subject of a serious internet war between liberal blogs suggesting it's a right-wing conspiracy and conservative blogs questioning Weiner's hacking claim. Andrew Breitbart, a conservative blogger whose biggovernment.com first reported the story, suggested to CNN there should be a, quote, forensic analysis to determine the veracity of Congressman Weiner's hacking allegation, which certainly bears criminal implications.
In fact, spokesman for both the Capitol Police and the FBI tell CNN they're not yet investigating this alleged hacking of a member of Congress's Twitter account. Now, Weiner's spokesman tells CNN he's actually hired a lawyer to, quote, explore the proper next steps and get advice on what civil or criminal actions could be taken. And Candy.
Yeah. Can I tell you something? As a person who was sort of in the room as this was all going down, this was a terrifying time. We knew we were right. We knew, obviously, that we didn't hack Anthony Weiner. We knew that he was lying. And think about it. Andrew Breitbart, as you saw in that report, actually said, if the congressman claims he was hacked, let's have an investigation. Right? So the person who's being accused of hacking the congressman is actually calling for a criminal investigation. Meanwhile, the FBI and the Capitol Police are saying, yeah, we're not sure what to do here. And Anthony Weiner, his spokesperson, says we're hiring a lawyer. So, of course, over at our little company, Breitbart News, well before it was this big website that you know now, we were like, oh, my God, this is a congressman connected to the highest levels with the Clintons who's now threatening to hire lawyers and come after us. And he's claiming that we broke federal law in hacking him. This is a smarmy, horrible human being. This is the guy who Huma Abedin, the close confidant of Hillary Clinton, was married to. Here's how people in the left-wing media covered this story. You might recognize this guy.
Breitbart, the conservative clown who thinks he's a journalist, what a joke, has done another fraudulent story as usual. He is reporting that Congressman Anthony Weiner sent out a picture from his Twitter account to a 21-year-old college student in Seattle, Washington, and that it had an indecent picture, that it was a man's genitals that could be seen through his trousers. And the implication was that he had a relationship with this woman and they were exchanging naughty pictures. Okay. Now, you're not going to be surprised to find out, of course, that it's totally and utterly untrue. The woman says, what the hell is, what are people talking about? She's just a random student in Washington. All of a sudden, people start blowing up her Twitter and they're like, oh, what about your boyfriend, Anthony Weiner? And he sent the dirty picture. She didn't even get the picture. It already got erased by the time it got.
There you go. There's Sank there telling you it's not true. Trust him. None of it's true. None of it's true. Breitbart's a fraud. Breitbart's a hoaxer. This is all fake. It's all fake. Sound familiar, by the way? There's a reason why I'm sending you down this path here, because Huma Abedin, again, you remember the Hillary Clinton email scandal that she was at the center of? Remember how they treated that story? When it was only conservative bloggers like Andrew Breitbart and other conservatives in the media who were following and pursuing that story. And what did Huma Abedin and Hillary Clinton and the entire media complex say? Same thing. It's always a lie. It's always a fraud. It's always fake. Like today, when we're saying that Joe Biden clearly is mentally incapable of being president. Well, that's just a right-wing conspiracy. You're pouncing, you conservatives. When we talk about the crimes of the Biden family and the Hunter Biden laptop, what did they say? Oh, this is propaganda. This is fake. This is disinformation. Nothing here is new. This is what they always do when we've got them. This is what they always do. See, the difference here, though, and the genius that I got to witness firsthand with Andrew Breitbart is that he knew. He knew that Anthony Weiner had done this before. You see, he didn't tell anybody in the media. He could have, but he didn't tell anyone in the media that the night Anthony Weiner accidentally sent out a picture of his situation there on Twitter, we had already been given a tip. Weeks before, a tipster went to our open tip email box at Breitbart.com and said, I'm a young woman, I live in Texas, and Anthony Weiner has been sending me naked pictures of himself. Andrew already knew that he had done this before. And we had to wait through this entire week of mania, of hysteria, of accusing us of hacking federal client. I mean, we had to deal. I mean, Cenk Uyghur is nothing compared to some of the stuff we saw on mainstream media, on ABC News, on CNN, across the board, calling us liars, calling us frauds, calling it. And then 1 week later, we got the permission of this young woman to release the pictures of Anthony Weiner, release them to the world and say, look, he's done it before. And then the day that we released that, Anthony Weiner called an emergency press conference in New York. And I don't know if you know this whole story, but here's what happened at his press conference. At the stage, on the podium, Andrew Breitbart stepped up before Anthony Weiner could actually take the stage.
I'm here coincidentally. I just arrived at LaGuardia because of media requests. And as I got into my hotel, I'm Andrew Breitbart, by the way. We reported this at Big Government and Big Journalism. And I'm here coincidentally. I did not know that they were going to be announcing this. So I'm just staying at a hotel about 3 blocks away. So I just decided to come by and see what he had to say. So how positive are you that what you reported is backed up? Specifically, I mean, we're reporting a lot of things here, such as at first, I think we were vindicated at first after a 3-day frenzy of trying to attack my journalism, my websites on the nature of the initial hack story.
Listen, we could watch this, and it went on for about 20 minutes, and it was on all the networks because all the networks were waiting. They had this empty podium waiting for Anthony Weiner to take the stage and announce that he was going to resign from his office and all that stuff. And it goes on for a while. You should watch it. It's great. It's a great little nugget into history, and it's hard for me to watch and cut him off because it was so brilliant and so beautiful. And I want you to know just some inside info. It's 100% true what he was saying. He was just going to hang out in the back of the room. He actually had no battery left on his phone, and he was charging it. One of the local New York CBS News reporters recognized him and said, Andrew, what are you doing here? And he goes, well, I want to see what Anthony Weiner has to say. I'm a journalist just like you. And suddenly everyone in the room realized, oh, my God, Andrew's here. And they all started asking him questions. And he was trying to respond and answer their questions, but they couldn't hear him because it's this big room. And so they said, well, why don't you go up there? There's a live microphone. We can ask you. It wasn't his idea. He didn't plan on doing this, but they just said, we can't hear you. Go up on the stage and answer the questions. So all of these cable networks have the live shot of the empty podium, and they're waiting and they're talking. And then suddenly, before you know it, that's not Anthony Weiner on screen. It's Andrew Breitbart. One other little insight into this. We had a group text going on, the various editors at the sites, John Nolte at Big Hollywood. Dana Lash was the editor of Big Journalism at the time. And myself at Breitbart TV. And Alex Marlowe, who's the associate editor, who's now the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News. Anyway, we had a group text going on. Joel Pollack, I think, was also on that text. And he said, I'm over at the press conference now, and I'm going to charge my phone. And we were like, what are you doing at Weiner's press conference? He goes, well, I want to know what he has to say. I want to see what happens. I'll be able to report back. And then he texted us. I swear to God, he texted us. I wish I had saved this text. God, it was like 8 phones ago, right? And he texted me and all of us, and he said, don't worry, I'm going to keep a low profile. And the next thing you know, he's on every single television nationwide. a little bit more on this, actually, one last word on it, because after this, of course, Anthony Weiner did emerge. And he was asked by the reporters, will you apologize to Andrew Breitbart for falsely accusing him and his entire staff, his entire team? Will you apologize to Andrew Breitbart? Watch what this cretin, this horrible, lying, deviant, corrupt, horrible human being, watch what he goes through internally to finally reach the point where he will just do the basic, decent human thing and apologize to Andrew. Watch.
Well, I'm here primarily to express my apologies to my wife and family, but anyone who was misled, all of you who were misled, people who I lied to, I have an apology for all of them.
But not specifically for him, not an apology?
If I believe that I believe that everyone deserves an apology here, and I certainly am. I'm certain. I'll be. Here's what.
Where's your wife right now?
I apologize to Andrew Breitbart. I apologize to the many other members of the media that I misled. I apologize first and foremost to my wife and to my family.
Did you see the internal monologue that was going on there? He was making a political calculation. Should I apologize to Breitbart? Oh my God, do I need to give him that? Oh, do I probably should. Okay, fine, I'm going to do it. And then he did it. And as you heard, he apologized to his wife, Huma Abedin. His wife, Huma Abedin, who now is dating this guy, as we began this entire conversation with. Huma Abedin has now moved on from that guy, Anthony Weiner, and she has moved on from being the bag man for Hillary and Bill Clinton and all of their nefarious dealings overseas through their foundations. She's now moved on to Alex Soros, the son of George Soros. What a couple. What a match made in heaven. In fact, let's just remind you now that we've gone through this journey and seen what a disgusting, horrible human being she used to be married to in Anthony Weiner. Let's just finish with who Alex Soros is now and what he's all about. You'll remember just a couple weeks ago at the World Economic Forum.
I don't think that that's the fundamental. I don't think technology is the fundamental issue in democracy. Democracy is messy. I mean, democracy is about contestation of ideas. It's about plurality. It's about people having different truths. Actually, now, fundamentally, how society lives together civically in those contestations is obviously quite tricky. But I think that if we play too much on this disinformation card, we're taking the responsibility away from ourselves to actually create a narrative that inspires people to vote and to believe in democracy and democratic institutions. And on the institutional part, I think that we can talk about institutions as these abstract things, but institutions are also about people. And we just heard this point about untrustworthy people, and we talked about things in the United States like checks and balances, which aren't written anywhere but are customs. And one man, Donald Trump, literally came in and just took that all away.
So he's a anti-Trump zealot who can't actually say a sentence without 18 ums peppered between the words. He's trying to lead a crusade against, quote unquote, disinformation. He claims that there are multiple truths out there, not just one single truth. And he claims that checks and balances isn't actually written down anywhere, even though, well, it is the exact form of government that we have. The words checks and balances might not be in the Constitution, but the three branches of government do, in fact, keep each other in check and balance out. And he's sitting on billions and billions and billions of Daddy George's dollars. Daddy George, who, by the way, just bought a company that owns over 200 radio stations, including some major conservative talk radio stations in major markets in the United States, just in time for the presidential election. And I assure you, Mr. Soros did not purchase these radio stations because it was a good investment and he plans on making money, because that's not what people do in radio anymore, sadly. You might want to look up and see if one of your radio stations is owned by a company named Odyssey. where you live, because if your favorite talk radio station, conservative station, is owned by Odyssey, it's now owned by George Soros. And you might want to take a look at the content on that station and how it may develop over the coming months leading up to the election. Yeah, that's George Soros, and that's his son, Alex Soros, and that's Huma Abedin, former bagman for the Clintons and former wife of Anthony Weiner. That's who she's now dating. What kind of terrifying, wealthy, evil spawn child are these two going to create? And what kind of unholy, terrifying alliance are we seeing now with Clinton world and Soros world merging before our very eyes? Be afraid.